Hey y'all, how's it going? My name is Miguel Quinones and I'm a sales engineer here at Sweetwater. And today I am honored to show you the latest addition to the Elektron family. The counterpart to the Elektron Model samples, we have the Model cycles. So the Elektron Model samples is a 6-track sample-based Groovebox. This here is actually a 6-track FM-based Groovebox, so it pairs perfectly with the Model samples. No SD card, you're not importing anything within the unit. All the sounds are built in. You just have a headphone output, which is 1/4 inch. So if you only have an 1/8 inch, you would need an adapter for it. Then you have your left and right main outputs that are also 1/4 inch, 1/8 inch MIDI in and out, and you'll have the power supply that comes with the unit. So basically what I want to do is kind of demystify Elektron, this piece and Elektron a little bit. I really love their uniqueness and how their terminology and their approach to music production and their products. Everything is very niche, their DNA is smooth, and it's different from a lot of different drum machine companies and different synth companies as well. So I really want to break down the interface of the unit so that when you get it out the box, you understand where everything is. And then we're gonna get into actually crafting a beat from scratch. So you can kind of get a feel for performance, but also if you wanna record it into your interface, you can get that done as well. So let's get into it. You have your main volume knob, which is also the power on and shut down button. The only other button that actually presses down is this blue data knob over here, which is where you control everything on your screen. It's on, so I would go to temporary save really quickly. I'll describe what this means in a little bit, but we're going to start a new project. And so I'm going to project and I'm going to hit new and then save new, no. So now we have a brand new clean slate. So just to break down the interface, we have obviously the screen and the knob that controls everything within the screen. So you have your back button, your kind of like where you save your projects or where you create a new project or a new pattern, your tap tempo, your transport controls where you record, play, stop, your function key. Your function button is like a shift button on a keyboard. And so wherever you see like an underlined word right under the button, that's like the secondary function to that button. So you would hold function and you would click that button and you can get into the depths of what it is you're trying to get into. The pattern button is basically how you combine different sequences, or where you would combine your different sequences to build a song. And we'll get into this later in a more practical application when we start the beat, but it's basically where you create your song and where you structure your song. Retrig will give you like this beat repeat type of effect, and we can get into that when we have an actual pattern playing. So you have your track select knob, and you have 6 tracks like I mentioned earlier, and this is how you would select each one. You would hold down the track button and select each track. And down here you have your 16-step sequencer. You have 4 pages totaling up to 64 steps per track. And up here you have 16 different parameter knobs that you can use to control each track. And then on the right hand side you have your reverb and your delay per track as well. Okay, so moving forward you have your LFO, you have your metronome, your quantize, and your sound engine button, or where you would select your presets for each track. All right, so let's get started on what you would do when you get the unit out of the box. You've turned it on, where do you go? So we've started a new project earlier, so all of your sounds would be stock sounds. I want to get a new kick sound, so I'll hit T1. So I'm gonna hit function. As I mentioned earlier, it's like it's your shift button. Go where it says preset menu, click factory, and now you have all these different options of presets. BD stands for bass drum. I'm gonna select that. This bass sound I really like, or this bass drum sound I like a lot, so I'm gonna click it, load it onto this track, hit back, now it's loaded. And now I'm gonna do the same thing for my snare. Hold function, preset. I'm gonna look for where it says SD for snare drum. And I like this sound right here I tried out earlier. So now I have a sound on my bass drum that we just selected on T1, our snare on T2. I have the same preset hi-hat that was already on when I first turned on the unit. And then I have another preset sound that I didn't change at all on T6. All right, so let's start a beat from scratch. I'm gonna start with my bass drum. What's nice about this step sequencer is that it already has the 4 on the floor underlined on each number already, 1, 5, 9, and 13. So I'll just hit 1, 5. I'll hold record, then I'll hit each step. Got a nice 4 on the floor. Then I'll lay down the snare drum. Got the snare going. Then I'll do the hi-hats. All right, so let me stop right there and show you 2 things that are specific to Elektron and what they're known for. Number 1 is parameter locks. Number 2 is trig conditions. So parameter locks, I'll show this on the hi-hats. So I'm going to, with record still enabled, I'm going to hold a specific step. I'll hold it down. And I'll mess with the pitch for that specific step. And then I'll do a couple more. Maybe I'll hit with the decay. Step. Contour. I'm just randomly picking steps and randomly doing things with the parameter knobs. And so each step has a specific control or something that you've controlled through the parameters, whether it be pitch, whether it be the decay, whether it be a delay. It's specific to that one step of that hi-hat. And when you press stop, you can see that everything that has an actual effect on it or a parameter lock on it, it's flashing. So that's one thing. You can do this on kicks. You can do this on your synth, whatever it is, whatever you want to do with this, you can lock specific parameters to specific steps, and that's super cool. The second thing, as I mentioned earlier, was trig conditions. So trig conditions is basically where you can have multiple sound engines per step on one sequence. And so if I go back to my kick, I got my 4 on the floor, so I got my kick, right? But if I hit number 7 and I go to my preset, I got a cymbal preset on step number 7. You're still on track 1, and the 4 on the floor is still on track 1, but that one number 7 is a different sound. It's a totally different sound engine. So it can be another sounding kick, bass drum, synthesizer, whatever it is that you want it to be. So you can have multiple sound engines in one track. And so you're not just stuck or limited to 6 tracks per se, because you can flex it however you want to. All right, so we have a very basic kick, snare, hi-hat, drum pattern going on right now. But let's say that you want to kind of start to build your song structure. This is where we will go to our pattern. So if I hit pattern, we only have one pattern, which is the one we just created. And if it's selected already. So if I hit function, you see copy is right under record. So I'll hold function, hit copy, go back to my pattern, go to number 2, and I hit hold function, and then right under the stop button is paste. I hit paste, and so now I have 2 patterns. So on number 2, it's the same exact thing that we did. If I hit number 1, it's playing pattern 1, but it's the same exact thing because we just copied it. So one thing to note, you can't just mute a track on pattern number 2 because the mutes are global. And so if you want to create a dynamic set and switch pattern 2 from pattern 1, you have to actually delete the steps. So we're on pattern 1 right now. Let's say on pattern 1, I only want the kick. So I'll go to T2 where my snare lives. I'll hit record and I'll delete those steps. I'll do the same thing with the hi-hats. I'll delete those steps. So now on pattern number 1, we only have the kick drum on, that's 4 on the floor, and step number 7 has that 1 cymbal. But if we go hold pattern and go to pattern number 2, the original sequence that we made is living in pattern number 2 now. So this is how you start to build a song. You can add or subtract certain tracks within your patterns. Okay, so the next 2 things that I want to show you guys is number 1, how to navigate your pages for your step sequencer and your retrig button. So if I hold retrig, it's sort of like a beat repeat type of effect, right? And for the pages button, if I want to extend my kick drum from 16 steps to maybe 32, I'll just select it on my kick drum. Then I will hit function, hold function, then hit page. And I will click to track. So pattern means the whole entire pattern is the length of 16 steps. But now when I click it and it goes to track, that means that now my kick drum can be 32 and my snare and my hi-hats are still 16. So I'm gonna go to 32. It's on page 2 now. Page 1, page 2. So I'm gonna wait till it gets to page 2. There we go. So now that's 32 steps just for the kick. All right, so I know that we just went through the sequencer with drum sounds, but it's far more capable than that. As we spoke before, it has 500 presets. 205 of those presets live in the synth folder. So let's audition some of those synth sounds so you can get a feel for what you'll get. Thanks for checking out the model cycles. If you have any other questions about this or any other Elektron piece of gear, contact your Sweetwater sales engineer. Thanks. Hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And click here for more videos like these, or start at Sweetwater for all your music instrument and pro audio needs.